I never imagined that I would reveal the most unusual place that I've had sex in front of about 800 straight people. Well, I know I heard a groan or two in the audience.
On a cruise in the Panama Canal, December 2004.
This is Common Ties.
Common Ties.
Common Ties.
Common Ties.
Common Ties.
This is Common Ties, and travel writer Randall Shirley talked about and recorded his story from his home in Vancouver, BC.
Not many passengers on this Royal Caribbean cruise through the Panama Canal had planned to think about gay sex during the evening's main stage show, which was called Love and Marriage. But there's little doubt that they all had some sort of visual of Kevin and me humping like bunnies in the desert by the time I got done talking. I'm also quite sure that they hadn't expected to see two men kiss on stage either, but they saw that too. The other two contestant couples were the most recently wed couple on the ship, and they'd been together about 2 weeks, or married about 2 weeks, and the longest married couple on the ship at about 57 years. The third couple was chosen based on audience popularity. Basically, if you wanted to participate, you stood up, you did a little dance, and you shouted, "We want to play this game." And this was in a theater on the ship that, like I say, sat about 800 people, and it was pretty much a sellout crowd that night. I decided that we were going to stand up, and moments before, Kevin slumped down into his seat and said, "I can't do this." I pulled him up and I said, "We're going to dance like crazy, we're going to get on that stage, and we're going to win this game." About 9 straight couples stood up, and we stood up, and there were a few gasps. Thank God we were both wearing Banana Republic. We looked smashing, although sweat was pouring from Kevin's brow. I have always been a lot more comfortable about being publicly gay than he has, although I have to admit that I suddenly had my own self-doubts. After all, Royal Caribbean is a very mainstream cruise line, but their tagline is "Get out there," so we were just doing as we were told. Well, the cruise director was the MC, and she did introductions with each couple, and as she got to us, she admitted that in her many years at sea, we were a first. The next thing that happened was she asked the women to go backstage. Kevin sprang from his seat to howls of laughter. The men were then asked a series of questions, and when our spouses returned to the stage, they tried to match our answers. The questions were things like, where was the most unusual place the two of us had ever made whoopee, using a word from the old Newlywed Game, and how would I describe Kevin's cooking? Well, the whoopee question was certainly the most interesting, and of course the audience was the most interested in the answers to that question. And it wasn't the gay couple who were the most interesting. We turned out to be pretty tame compared to the newlyweds. That couple had done it in just about every public and private place they could find. I mean, they'd done it in rental cars, they'd done it in his office, they'd done it on the front lawn. And I mean, apparently she gave it up long before the wedding night. And in the end, everybody had a really good laugh. Later on, we learned that the show was repeatedly broadcast on shipboard television, so several thousand people got to see just how normal a gay couple is. I mean, they learned that we're part of each other's families, they learned that Kevin is an amazing cook, and they learned that the first thing I do in the morning is make his breakfast. Now, we missed that answer. He said that the first thing I do is grab his ass. But anyway, they also learned that we're really no different than them. Well, suddenly, we were the most popular people on the ship. Days later, little old ladies were still asking Kevin if they could come for dinner at our house. An elderly straight guy was telling us how proud he is of his gay son. And there were several other gay couples that we had befriended on the ship, and they were absolutely beaming. I mean, they were so proud of us. The cruise director later told me that she really hopes to see more gay couples openly participate in these kind of games and events on cruises. And she also told me that she received a large number of positive comments about the game and not a single negative. And to us, we just proudly stood up in front of thousands of strangers and said, "We're here, we're queer, and frankly, we're just like you." Everybody asks, well, did you win the game? In the end, they called it a 3-way tie. And they gave each couple a bottle of champagne, and it was all just in good fun. But you know, in front of several thousand straight people, we feel like we won a game of an entirely different kind. And that's the game of Get Out There.
You've been listening to Common Ties.
I'm the editor, Elizabeth Moore, and this story was produced by Walter Dixon.